Alastair.
Thank you very much indeed, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm Chair of the Planning and Transportation Committee at the City of London Corporation. I just want to spend a few minutes with you talking about tall buildings in the City of London. Next slide. You'll see from this slide what the city looked like in 2010, and you know, it was only really a few years ago, but the contrast to that, if you can go next slide, please, to 2019, what it's now like from Centre Point there, and all the buildings, many of which I expect you as participants may have been involved in designing or being involved in the promotion of those buildings. What a difference 9 years has made. Next slide. What is overarching all this policy is our main city plan, and you may be aware of the fact we're out for consultation now, again, on our city plan for 2036. And that, I just want to highlight a few features from it. You know, it's setting our context for growth and intensification. The city post-COVID, we're very confident that people will still want to come to the city, and more people are going to want to come to the city and work in the city as really the international centre of commerce and business. This plan is going to be showing what we're doing in terms of major highway interventions, principal shopping centres, and also our Culture Mile initiative, which is all about how we're making the city more interesting from a cultural offer. And it also has 7 key areas of change to focus our action in. Next slide, please. One of those is the city cluster area of change, which is where you will probably know many of the tall buildings are and will be located. And that is all about office floor space growth and tall buildings. And it's projected that this area will include 60% of our floor space growth until the 2020s, into the 2020s. And we feel very strongly that a lot of getting this right will be about managing intensification at street level, with proposals we have for street closures, pop-up parks and spaces, pedestrian priority, etc. Also, it's going to be about freight consolidation and having restriction through security measures and other things. So it's about getting their ground plane right, as well as what buildings look like and how they interact together, more of which in a moment. Next slide, please. So as I said, around 60% of growth should be in this small cluster. And importantly, we think and are dealing with both at pre-app and other stages, further tall buildings on sites here, and with the potential expansion southerly, with the cluster moving southwards towards the River Thames. Next slide. I just wanted to take you through some of the buildings which are featuring or will feature on the city skyline that we've been dealing with, which will transform that skyline and are helping to deliver the new space that the city needs. Next slide. First up, 6 to 8 Bishopsgate, which is offering 53,000 square metres of space to 203 metres high by Wilkinson Air for Mitsubishi and Stanhope. Next. We've got the 263 metre tall tower at 100 Leadenhall Street with 102,000 square metres of floor space, designed by SOM for London Oriental. Next, Eric Parry, fellow panellist, his new tower at 1 Undershaft for Araland will be the tallest in the city at 305 metres. With 132 square metres floor space. And I hope I'm not stealing Eric's thunder here, saying that we're really excited the Museum of London will be involved in curating a gallery with schoolrooms and free for public use. We have, next slide please, 22 Bishopsgate, which reaches a mere 278 metres, and that's delivering 120,000 square metres by PLP and Lipton Rogers developments. And that, as you may know, will have a range of uses on different floor levels, featuring what they're calling a vertical village to attract a wide range of tenants with over 12,000 workers and nearly 1,700 bike spaces. And it also will have a very impressive public viewing gallery near the top, and you'll see the image there. Next. 22 Bishopsgate, also to call that out, has quite a few firsts about it. Visitors are going to be welcomed using QR code technology, which we've all, of course, got used to with the NHS app. This is a rather more positive use of that. A biometric technology for fast, secure, hand-free access. Telecommunications will be seamless, even in the lift, so you can interact with that any part of the building. Tenants having local control over energy and air quality and climate. And also for this building, which, as I said, will house 12,000 people in it, all the lifts, and this I think is probably a world first, will be capable of being used for fire evacuation. So very exciting building that. Next slide. Those of you who follow what we're doing in the city will know that we are really keen on city roofs and making public access at different levels. We believe that tall buildings are using space and airspace, and they should be, democratized by the use of public space where possible. So roof gardens, roof terrace and viewing galleries are really becoming increasingly common in the city, and our planning policies are seeking to support that in any tall buildings. And they're an opportunity for additional amenity space, of course, urban greening, and creation of new viewpoints for the city and the surrounding areas, which reinforce the whole of London's cultural and its historical attractions. Next slide, please. Some of you may remember back to One New Change, which was really a pioneering example of this approach, with a public roof garden and viewing area provided there, with really lovely close-up views of St Paul's. And that was, of course, followed by the Sky Garden at 20 Fenchurch Street walkie-talkie building. And next slide, not to leave out 120 Fenchurch Street. Go to the next slide, please. Which is, sorry, one back, which has got a great lower-rise roof garden there with some spectacular views over the Thames. Next slide. So in terms of viewing galleries, again, on Eric's scheme at One Undershaft, that we're going to have this curation of London on this gallery, which I'm sure Eric will touch on later, so I won't really dwell on that. But the use of the public utilising spaces both indoors and outdoors is becoming a pervading theme of the tall buildings in the city. Next slide, please. Also, we are using these opportunities for urban greening, and that adds to our green agenda. We've recently published our climate action strategy, which is heading towards a zero carbon city by 2040, and some really rigorous work streams in that. We are really serious about increasing biodiversity, addressing climate change, and providing resilience against flooding and overheating. And we have, I think, for quite a few years now, encouraged others to provide green walls and roofs. You'll see some examples here. And we've now got over 70 green roofs in the square mile, with around 40,000 square metres, which is about 6 football pitches up in the sky of that kind of space. And it's only going to get more. And they're providing some really worthwhile habitat for rare bird species and other things. So there'll be more of that to come. And I call out again London Wall Place and the prairie planting at the Barbican as other more kind of lower rise examples. Next slide, please. How we look at the city is really evolving as well. We now have 3D technology, digital modelling technology, which applicants are required to feed into, so we can visually assess from all angles and at all different buildings what is going on in terms of applications, both from a citywide and a London-wide townscape and skyscape. And it's long been my view that we've looked at things far too much in 2 dimensions with strategic views, when of course we inhabit a 3-dimensional space. So that has been something which we are promoting and indeed requiring to assist the committee in its deliberations. Next slide, please. Also, where we're getting more scientific, so to speak, is how we're looking at how the environment is being treated and the effect of tall buildings on the environment. In August last year, it seems a world away now, we issued our wind microclimate guidelines. That was first, I think, from a local authority perspective, and we won RTPI awards for that work. Again, a very scientific, evidence-based approach, which importantly looks not only at the effects of new buildings, but also the surrounding areas, and imposes obligations basically to be good neighbours and to be looking at the area as a whole. It is a patent to us that issues such as heat and wind and other things are the key challenges really for us in making a sustainable, people-focused city. Next slide, please. Also allied to wind is thermal comfort, and we're now mapping across the city. We know all the kind of hot spots, cold spots, etc. And that is a combination of data gathering on wind, on sunlight, temperature, on humidity, microclimate data at a seasonal level to gain a detailed understanding of thermal comfort and what it feels like as a person inhabiting this space. Because after all, we want to attract people into the city. They are the lifeblood of the city, to state the obvious. Next slide. So in terms of priorities for the future city, and of course there's a lot of talk at the moment about where the city's going, what the future of the office is, etc. Through our plans, actually our very well advanced city plan, our transport plan, our climate action strategy, pre-pandemic, we were on the right course to making the city basically a better place to be. We believe very strongly we need really adaptable space. We have limited space and we've got to get smarter about how we use it. We've got to make the space more interesting, more of an offer. So in terms of food and beverage, leisure, etc., all those things, tying in the culture mile, proposed concert hall, and all the art and other things that are on offer that are now associated with the Museum of London and other things. Urban greening, playing our part there, but also making the environment a better place to be. And also tackling air quality as well, which is another huge issue. So in summary, making the city as inclusive as possible and being a place that people from around the world want to live, work and visit in. Next slide, final slide. So I hope that this brief presentation has given you a flavour for the kind of work we're doing, direction of travel, what we have been doing and what we're aiming for in the future in the context of tall buildings in the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you.